What's the best tool for percent completion? We use QuickBooks Desktop. So if anybody is not familiar with the construction industry, percent completion means, in essence, what should we put in our financial statements to show that we're X percent of the way through projects? That's not necessarily the same thing as how much money you've received. So this has an impact for income taxes. It has an impact for internal management. So the best tool depends on the method that you're using for percent completion. If you're using a time-based method, then a couple of technologies available to you include the time tracking that's inside QuickBooks Desktop. That's not necessarily the most efficient, but if the same people who are on these projects also have access to QuickBooks Desktop, then it can save you some time and trouble to have them enter their timesheets directly into QuickBooks Desktop. You can run some reports, do some analysis, because when people do enter their time into QuickBooks Desktop, they can assign jobs to their time entries. And there's a format in there to make sure that all of their time for the week or for the day adds up. So it's a pretty efficient tool, and it's nice because there's nothing to integrate. Everything's inside QuickBooks. And yes, if you have a multi-user environment, you can grant access privileges to people that are limited to, let's say, the time entries. So it's not necessarily that you're all of a sudden giving everybody access to your customer's credit card information, let's say, or your vendor's tax ID numbers, just if you want if you want your team members entering time. So security is not an issue, and you have even more granular security permissions if you're using QuickBooks Enterprise. If that's not feasible for your organization and you need to go to an outside source, then consider T-Sheets for time tracking. And again, that's if you're using time spent as your basis for measuring percent completion. You can go to T-Sheets, which is fully integrated with QuickBooks Desktop. And this way, your people who don't necessarily now need access to QuickBooks Desktop, they can go to their computers, they can go to their phones, enter their time, make sure that every time entry has a job tag to it, even a job called overhead, right? Or the same thing you would do if you were just using the QuickBooks time tracking capability, and submit their time that way. And then you can run reports from T-Sheets to determine percent complete based on time. You want it to be integrated with QuickBooks Desktop, so your list of customers and jobs can be pushed out to T-Sheets, and that's the main integration there. Hey Susan, welcome to the call. If, however, you're using the percent, like the percent, let's say, oh my gosh, I forgot the other percent. It doesn't have to do with time, it has to do with money, not cash paid. Was it expenses incurred? Oh my gosh, it just left me. If you're using the financial measure though, not the time measure, you can actually use QuickBooks Desktop itself. And what I recommend is that you use the end-to-end data entry screens to mirror the end-to-end reality of every job. That means enter in the estimate with the full expected price of the job. Enter in a purchase order for the total expected expenses of the job. And if you and then as those estimates are ready to be billed out, you can, excuse me, I'm just going to change my light battery. As those estimates are billed out, you can convert part of an estimate into an invoice. And as those expenses are incurred, you can convert your purchase orders into bills, etc., and have that become part of your financial statements. So, and then what I recommend typically is that you pair that with an installation of QCube, that's QQUBE, which is in essence a pivot table in Excel, but it's actually linked up to your QuickBooks file, so you can have end-to-end job profitability from estimates and purchase orders through accrual through cash. And you can use that information to calculate percent completion as well.